Everyone, it's Kate here, and I am looking to give you another tidbit of information. And this is about our best friends, our four-legged friends, and the garden. First of all, they don't really belong in the garden. There's a lot of hazards there that you might not know about. So let me give you a few little tips of things that you typically have in your garden that can really hurt your animals. First of all, compost. The smellier, the better. Believe me, I had a beagle at one point, and you know that compost is made from decomposition, rotting stuff, stinky, rotting stuff, and the dogs will go for it, whatever it is. It's that nasty old smell that attracts them to your compost pile. And there are toxins. Molds can be toxic to dogs. So, you know, mycotoxosis, mycotoxicosis is poisoning by byproducts contaminated by fungi, and this can be fatal to dogs. So be careful to keep your dogs out of your compost pile. You can build a compost pile, with pallets and chicken wire, etc. But make sure you can keep your dogs out of it. Or you can get those tumblers. They're easy to use as well. Those big compost tumblers that you see, or even a stationary bin, but make sure it's covered. Fertilizers, even organic fertilizers that we use. Typically, we use bone meal for root growth and blood meal for fruiting. And both of those can be very enticing to dogs. A little bit of blood, a little bit of bone, all good stuff, right? No. It can make the dogs very sick. So diarrhea, dehydration, a trip to the vets, and even worse. So be careful. And the ones I talked to you about are the organic ones. Of course, the chemical ones can have, worse consequences. Also, people like to keep their gardens nice and tidy, so they use weed killers, herbicides. Obviously anything with glyphosate or Roundup I don't use it at all because of the wildlife and because I'm a human and I don't like to use glyphosate. But even other types of weed killers, like the ones with very strong vinegar, those as well. So just keep them out of those areas that use any type of herbicides or weed killers in. So there are other things as well, insecticides and pesticides. No. They get rid of garden pests that they also contain dangerous chemicals that are toxic to dogs. Follow the instructions and understand the risks. Lawn feed, a lot of lawn feed and moss killer can also be dog killer. Actually, it irritates the skin and can cause gastrointestinal issues. And also the ones that contain iron, because iron is good for the grass, that can also cause iron poisoning. Daffodils, lilies, and spring crocus bulbs are poisonous to dogs. They can cause vomiting, upset stomach, and kidney problems. So be careful when you plant them. They don't usually go for that stuff unless it's around. So make sure you plant them according to the instructions and get them under the ground and make sure they're not in the vicinity where they can just dig them up. Also, just like us, there are poisonous mushrooms. Mushrooms are great. There's so much benefit that you can read about for different types of mushroom, medicinal purpose, nutritional purpose. But there are wild mushrooms that are toxic. And because you have a wonderful yard full of rich garden stuff in there, the mushrooms like to capitalize on that, and they like to grow right next to your plants. So some of them may be toxic. So be careful And don't let the dogs get into any mushrooms or otherwise known as toadstools. Also, there's a really good way to have a nice garden and to have the garden smell lovely. And that's to use cocoa shell mulch. It makes your garden smell like a candy bar. It keeps the weeds out. Uh, it breaks down and turns to nutritious compost. It's wonderful. But as you know, cocoa or chocolate in general is toxic to dogs. It has similar properties to caffeine, can cause vomiting and diarrhea, muscle tremors, seizures, and elevated heart rate. There has even been several cases of dogs falling ill from, as I say, just this mulch itself. Um, Also, any type of thing, if you want to keep rodents out of your garden and put down some rodent pellets, the the they attract the rodents, the rats and mice. They may also attract the dogs, and they can kill them. So so uh, you know they can kill them quite quickly as well. That's really horrible poison to use, and I can understand people have a rodent infestation, but just read the warning label on that. And if you do use them, I'm not judging. There's a lot of reasons not to, but if you do have to use them, make sure that you keep them completely out of the way of your pets, because it'll their blood, it's just a horrible death. So also slug and nail pellets are the most dangerous poisons that the vets can see these days. Can cause severe poisoning and signs within 1 hour. So, be careful of any kind of slug and snail pellet that you use to get those uh, critters out of your garden. Also, believe it or not, toads, not just the animal, the toad, can produce venom through their skin. So, if they're attacked by the dog, then the dog the venom from the toads can be toxic to the dogs. Also, moldy bird food. If you don't tend to your bird feeder and the bird food falls, that can also be mold toxic to the dogs. Food waste as well. If you leave your food waste bins out there, if you're recycling candy or something that may be attractive to the animals, make sure you have a lid and you keep it on there fairly tightly. And keep the dogs out of your trash bins as well, including your garden waste. So I think there are other things, there are other crops, real crops that actually grow that are toxic to dogs as well. There are grapes in your allium family, your onions and your garlic, and I'm sure there are more. But dogs don't usually go for those they don't usually dig them up, dig up your garlic bulbs or anything. However, if they're in the middle of the compost, in that nice smelly old compost that's got all kinds of stuff in it, they may indeed go for those allium plants and any types of grapes that you have from the vine. So be careful from that as well. So the thing is, having some dogs, a dog or two around is really good for deterring the critters that may come to your garden, like the groundhogs or the rabbits. So it's good to keep them outside the fenced-in area of your garden, so they walk around and they leave their scent, and it may keep a few pests away. But whatever you do, don't bring them anywhere into the garden area or near the compost, because it could be deadly to them. So that's all I have for you today. So happy gardening, and say hello to your dogs from me and Mel. Thank you. Bye.